Hello, it's April 12th, 2025. This story is about my mom and my uncle. My father passed away in March 27th, 2004. I promised my mom that no male dominant person is going to pass away while she's alive. So let's jump to 2010. My uncle comes from Italy. He's going to have a major heart operation. Don't know exactly what it is, but he thinks he's going to die. The heart operation is a year from the date he comes in 2010. It's about the end of the spring, beginning of summer when he arrives. And he brings his youngest son. So I've got to make them believe in what I can do. Now they sort of believe in me a little bit, but they're already very religious, church and all that. That's really good, and they believe in God. So it's not an issue of that. This issue is I'm going to save this gentleman's life because my mom is his brother, and it's a male dominant person in her life, and that's what I promised. But this is going to take some energy and some work, and so I have his son sleep in my room for 2 weeks while they're here because my room is filled with positive energy and a whole bunch of gifted things. Like I've got silver coins, I've got all kinds of ornaments, but they're all good. They all mean positive. They all want to help, and in a good way. So I know that when he stays there for that period of time, he goes back to Italy, and I told him 7 days from the day you get back in Italy, whatever it is you want, you will receive. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah. And then he's seen me do some things over here that he thought was pretty amazing. And so did my uncle. But my uncle didn't believe in it that much. My mom really not as much either. She thinks I'm just an imaginative person or lucky or coincidental. But there's too many coincidences, and there's what luck is different than what you believe. Okay, so he goes back to Italy. He wins 25,000 euros. His father calls me up and he says to me, he goes, you know what my son wants to buy with the 25,000 euros? He wants to buy a motorcycle. I said, oh, wow, he's only 15. He goes, yes. So he goes, I'm not buying him a motorcycle. I'm going to put it away for his education. When I pass away, at least he'll have 25,000 euros. That's about 35,000 American, 40,000 Canadian, which will buy him a little bit of education, but it won't get him through the whole thing if he wants to be anything special, like a doctor or, everything is special. I am sorry. But anyway, I know that he's not going to die. But I needed that energy from his son that he believed. Now he believed ridiculously amount. He said, "Wow, this is absolutely nuts. That's a lot of money." And it's what he wanted. So he wanted to buy a motorcycle, but now it changed. That's going for his education. Still good. So let's go about maybe a week before the operation. And my mom's like all scared and everything. I said, Mom, don't worry. Everything is going to go fine. And I'm doing my thing, working and, driving people and all that stuff. And she was still worried. And I says, please don't worry. And so she looked at me. She goes, are you sure this is going to go fine? I said, there's not going to be nothing wrong. So anyway, the day of the operation, I talked to my mom. I was tired. I'm driving constantly. I sleep when I can. I sleep in my car. But if I can, I try to go home and sleep in my bed if I can get a few hours, 3 or 4 hours. So the operation, there's 6 hours difference between here and Italy. So it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. I just finished my morning calls. Sometimes I go all night. But anyway, driving. So I tell my mom, I said, listen, the operation doesn't even happen. She goes, well, you're crazy. And she started saying stuff like that. But son, she's called me crazy before. Anyway, she says, you're nuts. I said, Mom, listen, here's what's going to happen. He's going to have a little bit of a sore arm and a little bit of a headache, but no operation. They say it's a miracle. Now, you are going to run down the hall to my room screaming, it's a miracle, it's a miracle. And you're going to wake me up and you're going to tell me, it's a miracle. Just like you said, he has a sore arm and a headache, no operation. And I said, Ma, don't do that. And she's like, don't worry, I won't do that. But, the operation is going to happen and he's probably going to pass away. So be prepared for some bad news. I said, Ma, that's not going to happen. So I'm sleeping maybe, a couple hours at the most. Now, I want to get a good sleep because then I've got 3 o'clock calls coming up. So I want to get 4 or 5 hours if I can. But anyway, around 10:30, my mom's running down the hall, yelling and screaming, it's a miracle, it's a miracle, it's a miracle. Gets to my room, still yelling and screaming, it's a miracle. Wakes me up, and I said, Ma, and then she goes to me, she goes, oh, you told me that I would run down the hall, yelling and screaming, it's a miracle, and that you only have a headache and a sore arm, and wake you up. I just did that, and I didn't know I did that. From that moment on, my mom believed in my abilities and what I can do. I thought that was a miracle just in itself. And my uncle was fine. In fact, my uncle's alive now and my mom passed away. Yeah, that's wild. And he'll probably live for a very, very, very long time. I don't know that for sure. He's in Italy, I'm here. I can cross the sea, but I figured out that I have to go way above the clouds, like just in our atmosphere where there's no salt. There's a thing about salt that I have a hard time crossing when I'm astroplaning. I don't astroplane as much anymore, but if I need to, I can. And I thought that was a miracle. And everybody in Italy believes in everything that I do. It's just ridiculous. They wanted me to go down there and open up an office and do readings. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I like my life here. All right, that's Birdy signing off. Bye.